Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Elevate. My name is Jessica.
My name is Darwin.
Welcome back. Today is not going to be a regular type of episode. We're going to talk about some things that we were discussing on our way here based on some events, very unfortunate events that happened
Some recent events.
Yes. Someone who we've known very closely passed away in a car accident. Very young guy, very close to me at one point of my life, and it's just very sad and unfortunate that he has to lose his life so soon and leave a beautiful family behind. And because of this, we were talking in the car. I mean, not that this pertains to anything that has to do with him, but this conversation just emerged. The fact that, this was such a sudden thing to happen.
Yeah.
Nobody is ever expecting to lose a friend, a husband who's so young, with kids who are so young, but it happens every day.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about how some of us don't prepare enough for these things.
Yeah, I kind of brought up the topic. One, we're not really doing this podcast to put light on his situation. It's
No.
just this is just what we've been going through this week, and we feel like this was the best way to get it out. As you could tell, we was already having this conversation in the car, but like I was saying, that it's unfortunate that me personally, I felt like I'm not in the position to do more as a friend to, the family, to help financially. I don't know if they need the help, but for me, not being in that position made me feel like
you want to be in that position.
Exactly.
Sometimes when people are going through things like that, but sometimes you just don't have the possibility to do it. And not saying that they need it because they haven't asked for anything, but it's just out of our heart, we would love to do that. But this brought up the conversation in the car of how sometimes such tragic things happen so quickly and with no notice. These are just accidents that happen. And we went through that. When your mom passed away, that was something that was sudden. She wasn't a person who was sick for many months. It was something that just happened very quickly. And nobody was expecting it. And sometimes if there's something that we have a very hard time talking about and planning is death. And that's the one thing we're all going to face, whether it is in our young years, God forbid, or later in life. We're all going to go through that. And so I feel like it's so important, to prepare for that, to make sure your family knows what you would like to be done, when you pass away, so that there isn't any question about, where you would like to be buried, or if you're in the hospital in critical condition, and you're on a ventilator, would you want your family to fight for you till the end and leave you on the ventilator, or would you want your family to unplug you, when it's been a month? These things need to be discussed, maybe not with everyone, but with your closest family members, so that when things like this happen, your family members aren't on the air or on edge thinking I wonder what this person would have wanted me to do.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's people that, even personal people that we know that, they don't see themselves or want to be in a life where, let's say, something traumatic happens, that they're in a vegetative state.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to go through that. They
Right.
prefer to just, pass. And there's people that are, we love that person that we're seeing go through that so much that it's hard for us to say hey, just pull the plug, let's say.
Right.
So
right. Nobody wants to be that person because it almost feels like I'm giving up on that person. Mm-hmm. But if that person previously wrote it, had a will and said, I do not want to be on this earth with artificial,
Mm-hmm.
Machines just keeping me alive. At least you have peace in your heart knowing that you did what that person would have wanted you to do. it's very hard to be in that position and not know what the person's will would have been.
And to leave a person like struggling, you know what I'm saying? Like you can, at the end of the day, the person is the one that's going through it. Like you're just caring for the person because you love the person. But like to be in pain, like after you leave a hospital, let's say, and like in a very critical condition, like you are suffering and you can't do anything about it. And you have to live the rest of your life because you can't really do anything after that. Like it's that chance, like you have that one chance to make it happen. And it's like this person wanted to keep you alive, and it's hard both ways.
Yeah. But this also brought up the conversation of life insurance and how a lot of people feel when you talk about life insurance with some people, especially in the Latin community, a lot of our parents, you know, and I think it's kind of changing, you know, with our generation a little bit.
And not just Latin. I feel like the middle to lower class
all have that mindset of it's like, no, I'm not going to pay for life insurance. Like, especially if they're young, they're like, I'm not, like, obviously nobody wants to picture themselves dying young. But it's just like precaution. We have life insurance. We have insurance for our car. We have insurance for when we buy a home. Like there's so many other things we put insurance on that isn't life. Like
you probably have insurance on your iPhone and your Apple products.
Right.
But you don't have insurance for if you pass away, your family's left off.
It makes zero sense. And I understand that some people feel like, oh my God, but these insurance companies are pocketing so much money. Listen. Regardless of the fact, when you pass away, it's going to be hard whether you have life insurance or not. That's undeniable. Yeah. But to leave, God forbid you leave earlier than you think you would, and you're the sole provider of your family. Or you're half of the provider, you know, like in our instance, like we both provide in our family. If one of us goes, I'm going to stay struggling. He's going to stay struggling. It's so much harder to have to deal with grieving a person and also have to deal with financial burden. Yeah. To have to be obligated to show yourself, to show up at work because your work only gives you X amount of time to grieve when you know damn well if it was your spouse, if it was your wife, if it was one of your kids, you don't have a time frame for grieving. You don't know for how long you're going to be grieving. To have to force yourself to report yourself to a job in the middle of grieving because you can't financially just stay home and go through your process is very difficult. Yeah. You know, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And I feel like everybody in the family should have life insurance, even kids.
Yeah, and not even just the grieving part, like the initial cost of somebody passing. Like there's a lot of cost that goes into, you know, the funeral, cemetery and all that. And obviously, unless it's something that, you know, you're a elderly person and you're kind of already expecting that person to pass. But when it's a young person, you're not, like, you don't have $20,000, $30,000 sitting on the side, like, just in case something like that happens. So things like that, you know, you can help somebody. You can help a family from going into more financial burden than they, you know. It's just hard to explain.
No, I understand.
I just know, like, because I've been through it, so it's like.
Yeah. Like I said, this is a conversation that's very difficult because nobody likes to admit that part of life. Yeah. A lot of people don't like to talk about it, and me included. I don't like to even think about it, but I realized that you have to, you know, and you're not going to be talking about this every day. Like, it's not like you're going to be having like conversations about when you're dying every day, but you need to be prepared for when that time comes, whenever God decides is your day. Like, you need to be prepared so that your family isn't left behind grieving you and also buried in debt. Yeah. You know, like, it's already hard enough that a person has to grieve you. You know, I wouldn't want to leave my family worried about, you know, sad about my loss and also worried about money. Yeah. You know, it's just something that, you know, we can plan ahead of time to cause the least amount of pain.
I wish I had a sponsor right now so I could just like link them and be like,
yeah, this is not even a sponsored video. This is just real life. You know, it's something that is inevitable and that we should all be prepared for. And like, this even made me think about a will. Like, I'm 32 years old and I'm like, you know what? You have to have a will. And if you don't have a will written down yet, like, have these conversations. Like, if you have a spouse, if you have your mom, you know, your brother, your sister, have, you know, like, make sure they know what to do in such hard times with you, so that you at least leave them with some comfort knowing that they're doing what you would like them to do.
And I would say too, like, a will is very important where, like, let's say you're in a family that is financially well, like a lot of people in the family or even the parents are financially well, and there's like a lot of people involved, because when that person passes and there's not like anything written in stone, like, things get ugly.
Right. Money makes people crazy. So
it's like, it's always good to just have it written down. Like, this is what I want. This is what's going to happen.
So there's no confusion.
Once you go to the lawyer in court, like, whatever is written down that this person wanted is what it is.
Yeah. It's so important. It's so important. Like, we can't just keep ignoring this. You know, a lot of us can't keep ignoring it because we leave people with a lot more hurt than they should have. And it's unfair. It's unfair.
Now, let me ask you a question. If you had a will, and let's say you was financially well off, like you was set and you was leaving your kids with like a substantial amount of money, and there was both, we have 2 kids, so I'm just going to put our minds in, and there was both on the will initially, but it turns out that one or the other, as they got older, they just fell off. They went off the wrong track. Right? And you had this conversation, or maybe you didn't have this conversation with them. Do you, as you feel like your time is approaching, if you're in that state, do you remove?
If I was sick? If I know I'm sick and I'm going to pass?
Yeah, let's say that. Or maybe if you're not and the kid is just like not doing what they're supposed to do. Do you remove that kid from the will? Would you?
I don't know. You're asking me a very difficult question. I don't know. I guess it would depend on the situation and what my child is doing. Because if I know that my kid is in the wrong path, I wouldn't want to leave a lot of money to a kid who is very derailed and just, you know, maybe we'll use the money for the very wrong reasons. You know, that wouldn't be helpful. Like, leaving him a lot of money wouldn't help him if he's not in the right mindset. I think in my will, I would suggest that if I pass and my kids are still underage, I will, let's say,
that's automatic.
What?
That's automatic.
What's automatic?
That I'm like, if we're married, that I.
Okay, so you will, I would say, I mean, you're going to be around. So, pon la regla. I'll leave it on your hands. But if you're not, God forbid, you know, I would just write down in the will, like, you know what? If my child isn't, whoever else is appointed, I would say, like, if my child isn't in the right path, I don't know. I don't know how that would work, because how am I going to, what is the right path?
Yeah.
I don't know. You asked me a very complex question that I can't answer at this moment.
That's fine. I'll accept that as an answer.
Yeah, but these are definitely, I guess I'll think about that as my kids get older, and not right now.
Well, I mean, if you're on the bad path, I mean, like, doing things you're not supposed to. And I don't mean like, I mean like hardcore things. I don't want to say the word because I don't want to say a flag.
The D maybe?
Yeah. The D. If you're doing the D, you know, I'll remove you. If you're watching this, my kids, I will definitely remove you.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, the point of leaving some, you know, form of financial support behind is so that they can move on with their life in a good way. It's not for them to just go through their money doing the wrong things, because then that's not helpful. Like, you're not helping your child at all.
Or put like a condition. Like, you have to complete this amount of therapy, blah, blah. And if you complete it, then you're entitled to this much. And then 10 years from there, you're entitled to another, something like that. Like, you got goals to meet. as long as you stay on track.
That goes into a different topic.
That
goes into the topic of like leaving inheritance, you know. Sometimes there's parents who feel like I just need to leave my kids a lot of money so that they're okay. But if you don't teach your kids what to do with that money or how to handle money, you really just gave them a problem. Because they will blow through that money immediately. If you don't know, if you're not financially savvy, if you don't know how to run a business, if you didn't educate your kids on money, it doesn't matter how much money you leave your kids. They're not going to know what to do with it. And if anything, they might get into trouble because if you have that much money in your hands and you don't know how to handle it, you can definitely get yourself in a big hole.
And well, I always like to talk about, you know, like just that there's so much information out there right now, and it's so easy to learn different type of ways to like learn about money and finances and the way money works, that I feel like everybody should be educating themselves like little by little. I don't mean like go sit down and read a 300-page book on like how does the bank work, but, you know, watch a YouTube video here, like take a class here and just know what, like learn what the stock market is, like learn what bonds are and stuff like that. Because if you don't, like, how are you going to teach your kids that? And there was a post that I think I shared it. Teach your kids what you learned early.
Yeah, I agree. There's so much that we're learning now that we weren't able to learn growing up because we just didn't have the right people around us or people who were educated in those fields.
And I feel like some people will look at people and be like, oh, look at this guy. He thinks he's like a guru. Or I feel like it's exciting. Like when I learn something like that, like that blows my mind. Like, damn, this is what these people did back then to make it to here. I'm like, how do we do this? Like, let's go. Like,
and you start sharing it. And you're right. Like some people might look at it like, oh my God, like, look, now he thinks he knows it all.
Yeah.
But guys, that's what we should be doing. We should be sharing. Whenever we learn something, we should be sharing with our community, because how else are we going to grow? How else are we going to move forward? Like this stuff of being like, there's some people who are selfish. You know, they might know something and they don't want anybody else to know. And they just keep the information to themselves. And that's not how we are. Like we want people around us to learn what we are learning, because it is exciting for us. And why keep it to ourselves? Like, it's no fun when you're the only one moving forward and everybody's just staying behind. That's just how I feel. Like
the future is bright. And I say it in a way that all the extremely wealthy people you see now, like a decade, 2-3 decades from now, it's going to be times 100, times 1,000 more people. Because that information that those people got, like all these big billionaires were run by like families, right? And they kept that like monopoly, let's say, between them. Like they was not sharing this information.
Yeah.
So now it's different. The information is out there to everybody.
Yeah, it's true.
And there's people that are taking extreme advantage of it. People that let's say was already coming across money, but they didn't know how to handle money or how money works. Now they're like, wait a minute, this is what I need to do. And that's why you see people like making real crazy money, because now the information is out there. Before it was just like,
before you had to dig up for it, go into books, you know. Now it's like you can watch a video, you know.
For example, like these rappers when we was growing up, and like pop artists, and I say music because that's kind of what we used to look up to. Like all these people got money and chains.
Even if they didn't have that much, but
most of those people are broke right now.
Yeah.
But imagine they had the information that all these other people had.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be in where they are today.
Yeah, a lot of them were manipulated by the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
And they knew nothing about handling money. So that's why a lot of them ended up broke, because it doesn't matter. You can make all the money in the world. If you don't know how to handle money, you're going to end up broke. It's just how it works.
That's why they say most lottery winners end up broke within, like, I think a few years.
Right. Because most of them have never seen money. People who play the lottery are usually lower class people. So they've never had that much money in their hands, and they've never educated themselves on how to handle a lot of money. So when they get all that, it's like, bet I'm spending all of this.
The first thing they do is like, you get a house, you get a house, you get a house, and then it's like everybody's like foreclosure.
Yeah.
And then the bank comes in, or the people that know about money, and they're like, this person's doing a foreclosure, we're gonna buy it for half the price, and they buy in cash, and that's what happens.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Like the next couple of years to see like our generation evolve. It's gonna be very interesting because I can already see it. I was talking earlier about these other YouTubers who I periodically watch, the Edwards family. Their growth has been huge.
Yeah.
Like they started being vloggers when they were like about 18. They got married when they were 18, I believe. And they started like a YouTube channel shortly after. And so their whole family has been, their whole life, not their whole life, but, you know, major parts of their life has been blogs. And they've been YouTubers from the moment they got married.
Yeah.
So a lot of their, you know, milestones have been on camera and on YouTube. And so they've been full-time YouTubers ever since. And they're still going strong. And I admire them so much because they're 25 years old. And at this point, they've moved to a state that they wanted to move. They've recently bought their first home. And I just see them making so much progress. They've made so many mistakes along the way, but they're so transparent. And they talk about, you know, how they're human and this is what people do. You know, they're very transparent about what they do. They're not trying to be perfect. They're just trying to be better people every day. And like you say, like a lot of the people, because there's so much information out there, I'm pretty sure the reason why they've been able to be so successful is because they are really into those books. Like they read a lot and they really educate themselves on how to handle money and even how to handle their mental health to become better in the future. So yeah, I feel like we owe a lot to YouTube.
Yeah, definitely.
Like a lot. Like a lot of the reason why we're here.
I owe my life to YouTube.
A lot of the reason why we're here, you know, besides, you know, our parents wanting us to become better people, but, you know, you wanting your kids to be better people doesn't really take them there.
Yeah.
You have to really equip them with the right information. And unfortunately, most of our parents didn't have that information to give us.
Or resources.
Or resources, right. And it's not even their fault. They just didn't have it. And so for us, we had to get it in school. We had to get it through YouTube. And I always think about this. Like, we're so fortunate to be a part of this generation and have YouTube because we've learned so much.
YouTube and the internet, period. Because some people don't even consume just reading on the internet, blogs and stuff like that. But yeah,
and
it's pretty crazy.
And YouTube and the internet could take you many ways. So this is why I feel also it's very important that we understand what we're giving our attention to, because we can very easily just spiral down the gossip hole on the internet.
For sure. And
just waste time looking at stuff that doesn't educate us, that doesn't provide any type of value to our life. And so we're sitting there, you know, just filling our mind with garbage. And cool. I'm not saying you have to be a nerd 24/7 and then you have to be reading books and, you know, just looking at educational things 24/7. But I honestly do feel now that I'm 32, you know, and I've been in life for a little longer now, that it matters.
Yeah.
Like, it does matter what you're putting into your brain every day, because this will make the difference on whether you will be on a successful path or on a path that's just going to lead you nowhere.
I said drop the mic. Well, you can't.
It's true. It's true. It's true for me. You know, I've caught myself many times spiraling down the wrong holes. And then I find myself feeling so empty, you know, at home, you know, just looking at stuff that, again, doesn't add value, doesn't teach me anything, doesn't help me grow as a mom, as a wife, you know. But when I go and I start, you know, like we recently started like reading. Yeah. I used to read so much and I stopped for a while. You know, I became a mom. My life got busy. I started working and I recently got back into reading. And I start reading these books and I automatically feel different. Like I wake up the next day and I'm a little bit more motivated to be better. You know, and I like to read like self-help books, coaching books that will make me a better wife, a better woman, you know, a happier person. You know, those are the type of books that I like to read.
I like to read like investing and learning about investing, and not just investing like in the stock. Like there's so many different ways of investing, but just like the way money, like again, the way money works, like have money working for you. And we have this conversation we're going to put out there. Like, we don't want you guys to think that we're like drowning in money.
No.
Like we are figuring it out just like everybody else, but we're educating ourselves. So when the time comes, because it will come, that we come across that money, we know what to do with it. And we just don't blow it on dumb stuff. And we're able to enjoy it and have our kids enjoy it early.
But everything starts with something. You know, sometimes we could get very overwhelmed with the fact that we're not where we want to be.
All the time.
Yeah, but how are you going to get where you want to be if you don't take the appropriate steps? Like right now, we're on a journey. Right now, guys, let me just share something. I'm on a real journey right now.
Let them know.
Because
I'm going to say that I'm proud of you. I'm going to say it on here. I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of myself because it's been like a week now, almost.
A week.
So I was on a very bad habit of not waking up early enough, of not going to bed early enough, you know, just with the excuse of everybody goes to sleep, it's me time. You know, I was in this bad habit for some weeks now.
And she told me, I used to tell her, like, come to sleep early. And she's like, no, this is my me time. And I was like, okay.
You know what it was? I felt very
empty,
unfulfilled during the day. And, you know, like I work from home. And when you work from home, it's cool. Like I wouldn't trade that for anything, but you have to have structure. If you don't have structure, everything just blends in. And the day just becomes like blah.
It's like you're working 24/7. You just took a break to go to sleep.
Yeah. And I had to put a stop to this. I was realizing that I couldn't continue doing that because it was affecting me emotionally in every way. And so I started listening to Mel Robbins' podcast. Shout out to Mel Robbins. Probably not going to watch this, but shout out to you. And you know, that's how I started. I started listening to her podcast, and I got some gasoline going. You know, I was like, okay, you know, I could do. I've done this before, not the waking up early, but you know, I've been on a different path where I felt a lot more motivated on a day-to-day basis, not just, you know, when we're here in the podcast, but at home. You know, like I felt differently. So I know when I'm not good. When I'm not good mentally, when I'm not in a good path. And I knew I needed structure. Like I know that's what I was missing because when I was actually going to work in the office, it was a hell of a structure. I hated it because, you know, I was always rushing and I hated it. But nonetheless, it forced me to get out my house, you know, and I had a routine. Yeah. So I needed that. And so I said, you know what? Enough. I've had freaking enough. I need to do something different because I know I can give so much more. I have so much more potential and I know I can do it. I just need to get myself out of this rut. So I started listening to my podcast. Guys, I've been going to bed early.
She's been tired at that time.
Listen, the first 2 days was a struggle. I really felt like I can't do this. Yeah. Because my body's not used to doing that every day. Like waking up 6 o'clock in the morning, like for what? Like, but I realized I have to. I need the structure. So I've been waking up early. I've been going to bed early. I've been reading. I've been listening to more, you know, productive things.
She got her little book she carries around with her. What's the name of the book?
The name of the book right now is Successful Women Think Differently.
Okay.
I love it. I forgot what's her name. but it's a great book.
We'll link it.
Yeah. And I think it's been great. I feel different. I really do. Except, my week was a little thrown off by this whole situation that happened with my friend. But overall, I've been able to manage. And I'm glad that I did it when I did. Like, God knows how he does his things, really, because you need structure, guys. If you're a person who's working from home and you feel like your days blend in and, you're starting to feel like it makes you depressed or you're anxious, you need structure. That is what you need. We all need it. And we also need connection. I learned from the book that I'm reading and from Mel Robbins' podcast that we all need connection. As much as we think that we're, antisocial or we all need some type of connection. And I know that for myself, that's very, very true. I'm a very social person. I need social connection other than with my husband. Like to go out, to see the sunlight, to anything, exercise a bit. Like, it's so important. And I'm starting. This journey is just starting because it's just been a week. So hold me accountable, guys. Ask me next week if I'm still doing this, because I promised to myself that I'm going to do this straight without no breaks. It doesn't matter if it's a weekend. I'm going to do this straight for a whole month, because they say that good habits are built in 21 days, right?
That's what they say.
So I'm going to do this for a whole month, hoping that I can continue for the rest of my life, because this is what we got to do. We got to do what we got to do, right?
And as I always tell you, I'm here to help you.
Yeah. But yeah, that's enough about me.
Never enough about you. I can hear you all
That's
day,
enough
baby.
about me.
No, but yeah, I'm proud of you. And if you guys are listening to this and you guys are partners or a couple, like, help each other out. Like, I'm always pushing her. So I knew she could do it, and I try to do anything to make her process easier, because I was already kind of waking up, but I also needed a push too. So now that I see she wakes up, I kind of, when she sees me wake up, I know she's like, damn, he did it. I got to do it too. So
I really appreciate that, babe.
No problem.
I really do.
You know what I did? I'm a snoozer, right? My phone, like, I put like 37 alarms, and then I snooze them all till I'm late. I bought an alarm clock, a loud one, and I put that shit across the room. I have to get up.
And I've learned that based on science and research, guys, you cannot hit the snooze and go back to sleep, because you will put yourself back in a sleeping cycle. And this is why when you do this and you wake up again, you feel groggy and you feel even more tired, because once the alarm goes off, your body woke up. So your body is like, the first 2 hours when you wake up could be your most productive hours, because your body is up. It's like, okay, it's time to wake up.
Yeah.
But if you press the snooze button and you go back to sleep, you're going to put your body back into sleep cycle. And it takes 72 hours, up to 72 hours for your body to get off the sleep cycle. So that's why if you wake up and you've been snoozing for hours, and then you wake up, you still feel like you're dragging yourself, because you're in a sleep cycle.
And this is why it's important to educate yourself, because she learned that this week.
I did.
And now she has topics she can talk about, because she's feeding her brain with productive things and not garbage, and not going through TikTok at 12 o'clock at night.
And when I wake up, I think about that now. Like, when the alarm goes off, I'm like, okay, I can't go back to sleep, because if I go back to sleep, I'm going to wake up feeling moody and groggy, and then I'm really not going to be productive, because if I'm in that type of mood, I'm not doing nothing.
Yeah, it's a habit. The book I'm reading right now is called Atomic Habits. It's really good. It's how to build habits and how to, maybe we should do a video on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Atomic Habits.
Let us know in the comments down below if you guys would like for me to, like, share little bits and pieces of the books that I'm reading, because I feel like doing that sometimes, but I don't know if you guys would like me to do that. So let me know in the comments down below if you want me to do, like, a separate section to, like, discuss some of the books that I'm reading and just point out some of the important things I learn along reading the book.
That could be like a series. Every time you read a book, you do like the 5 or 10 things you learn about this book.
Yeah.
You got from this book. And it'll just be a video there, and then we'll put the links for you guys to purchase the book she's reading. And
it would also keep me motivated to keep reading.
Yeah.
So I would love the
And
accountability.
they give us more content.
All right.
But that's it.
Yeah, I think we've had enough conversation here.
This one was all over the place.
Yeah.
From life insurance to reading books and self-motivation.
Yeah, this is just what's going on right now. And, you know, our thoughts are random thoughts. So I'm sorry if you felt we were all over the place. I hope some of y'all were able to relate to what we were talking about, or
and
you
got
were
something
able,
out of this.
yes, or you were able to walk away with some information or some motivation to do something different with your life. This is what this podcast is about. Elevate your life with us. We're trying to elevate our life as well.
Together.
That's it for today's podcast, you guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening, thank you so much for watching. If you're here on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Leave your comments down below. Hit that like button and hit the bell so you can be notified every time we post a video. That's it for today's podcast. Until next time.
Peace.